We are the hub for news, results, and CEO interviews focusing the junior commodities sector. We provide market analysis and perspective that will help position you for solid returns.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Stock Talk. Boy, it's been a while, but we wanted to jump on, have a bit of banter back and forth, talk about our piece that we put out on Wednesday, and also just highlight some of the big themes that are out in the markets right now. Obviously, people talk about interest rates and the debt ceiling. We're in, as we've said before, very challenging and tough times. But there's lots of interesting things, too, that are going on. And we want to highlight just one or two interesting stories that have popped up and things that we are engaging more with our subscribers than on our free kind of publicly facing show.
Yeah, we kind of wanted to retool what we're doing with the show structure. So we have kind of a more like educational, informative video that we've been putting out every week. And now what we're going to do as well is we're going to jump on every Friday like we are right now and just kind of break down a few of the stories that jumped out to us during the week. Some stuff that's been on the message board, some stuff that we've just sent back and forth to each other, but just different interesting stories that fit into kind of everything that we encompass and look at. And the first one that stood out to both of us, Andrew, I know, was this agreement by Microsoft to buy an electricity generated Sam Altman-backed fusion company called Helion Energy. And that's some really exciting stuff because it kind of hints, and we've talked about this before, but it hints to the real kind of feeling that fusion could be a real serious path forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I'm very hopeful. I mean, this would be pretty wonderful. And to see this, I mean, this is interesting because it's a huge commitment and you can look at it in different ways. And I think the way that Sam Altman is looking at it, as he's also the creator of OpenAI, he's put $375 million into this. And this kind of gives you an idea of how important energy is. If they're able to crack this, and they have made legitimate steps forward, it is a huge game changer. And to put a time frame of 2028 in which if they're gonna charge them if they don't hit this time period, Microsoft's going to charge them. So there's a big monetary stick that Sam will get hit on and Helion will get hit with if they don't hit the mark and the milestones. So I think part of the challenge is that they think with the brain power at Microsoft, with the brain power at OpenAI, at the tools that are developing at such rapid pace with AI, that these are going to be, I think, the final ingredients to really, bring us into this next kind of wave of energy.
Yeah, I think it definitely does. It opens the stage for that. And I know that they kind of figure that the amount of the energy that they're producing could power something near like 40,000 homes in Washington State. They're using as kind of the example for this. But that's, it is a really cool kind of path, and we've talked about it ad nauseum, sort of how you're going to need nuclear in some way, shape, or form if you're going to do the energy transition. It doesn't really seem attainable without it. But another interesting thing out of this is this continued kind of relationship between Microsoft, Sam Altman. Obviously, you mentioned that he created OpenAI, which Microsoft is now integrating into a lot of their overall platform. I think they're running it through Microsoft Office, so that's Word and Excel, and all those are going to be compatible with OpenAI. So it's interesting to see them continuing to work together on other projects as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's pluses and minuses to that too. Like once again, you're not having that the public's able to take any kind of stake in this. That this is once again billionaires dealing with each other. Now, one might say, well, great, they're helping to solve some problems, but when you already have a very isolated and protected 0.01% of the population that are these billionaires that are just working together with all the money, that causes a lot of friction. So there's good and bad to it, but it's a nuanced conversation, and these are the ones that we like to have with all of our subscribers. But it is a good highlight on there's things that are being worked on. It's very exciting, and that conversation, I mean, there's lots of naysayers that say that, that fusion is not there. It's not, not only that it may not be able to get there, is that even if they get to the fusion part, it's all about the, I think it's deuteronium, the ingredients you need. Yeah. Those are scarce. So yes, they might be able to pull it off, that they have enough of the ingredients to just supply Microsoft, but it may not be like the wishful thinking that this is the clean power source for everyone, free and for everyone. That I think is more of the sci-fi utopian ideal, but they might be able to pull it off to be able to supply just Microsoft.
Yeah, and that's a kind of interesting part, and we'll kind of expand on it a little bit. We've got an article from Time magazine that was actually really interesting about how nuclear energy's moment has come, and we're going to have a bit on the message board this afternoon about this article. But just kind of summarizing the overall points of it, it makes the case of despite the growth in nuclear energy, you're going to need to have more output, kind of to what you're saying. Like, is it going to be able to be the solution for everyone? But regardless of that, there's a safety record to back it up. There's rising support for nuclear energy, not just in the United States, but kind of across the Western world for sure. And that if you're going to get to sort of an industrial scale level of production, that it can be kind of a catalyst for sparking not just adoption of more nuclear, but also of helping smooth the process of the transition.
Yeah, and you're seeing more and more their opinion pieces, but also data and recognition that the power grid has to change. We can't, you couldn't possibly switch everything over to electric right now anyway. It's a pipe dream. There has to be a ton of work at that core foundation level, at the power grid level and giant power grid level in order to meet any of these possible dreams they have of hitting some of these targets. But those, once again, are bigger conversations. There's also a lot more videos about nuclear waste and how you can recycle it and use it for energy. We're lucky to have Rabbi Moskovich. He's got Curio. They do just that. We have a great series that you should check out. He is very informative about the entire nuclear area and obviously very pro-nuclear. He's sat in front of Congress. It's a great series. I urge you to go watch. This is some of the content we really like to get out to people. And the other thing I just want to wrap up in regards to energy is that, we can't go, it would be remiss to go without mentioning this largest ever lithium deal that was done this week, which is between Livent and Alchem, which is a $10.6 billion company now. That's a huge merger that, kind of stamps the need to supply lithium moving forward. And I think people see how much lithium we're going to need. But one of the things that we've been talking about, and it's the lesser known cousin, is the absolute critical need for the life batteries or the lithium iron phosphate. And you'll see that whether it's Tesla, Honda, whether it's Ford and the CATL battery plants that they're building, these are all lithium phosphate batteries. And I'd love to get into more conversation with people in these group chats that we do. One-on-one gets very tiring. Believe me, texting and calling people one-on-one. We want to try to bring that community together, get everyone in on calls to talk about these things as a group. It's a lot easier to get the message out.
Yeah, definitely is for sure. And to just kind of wrap up on the lithium point, a couple encouraging things out of it. When you see a $10.6 billion deal, two of really big lithium companies kind of getting on side with each other and moving forward, I think that's an encouraging sign. Another encouraging sign is, one of these companies, Alchem, is Australian based, and then Livent is American based. And they're also looking at expanding growth and production in both Canada and Argentina as well. So it's kind of, you're hitting a lot of different markets, but all countries that have a supply of lithium that's there and available. Canada, Argentina, the US, and Australia all have, I believe that's probably 4 of the top 5 or 6 potential lithium producing countries in the world. And then also countries that have a massive need for it. The United States, obviously the biggest one, but Canada and Australia as well are going to need massive amounts of lithium to keep up as they try to move on the energy transition as well. So it's a great kind of deal to see moving forward.
And that just reminds me, we have a Goldman Sachs report on direct lithium extraction. We've done shows on that. We've done reports on that. There's this great research. So when you're talking about Argentina or you're talking about Alberta, where, coming from brines, this technology is at the forefront, and it could be a game changer in and of itself. And it's coming along. Like, if you think fusion's coming along, the direct lithium extraction technology is coming along, and that absorption technology is coming along. If you'd like a synopsis of that, please come to us. We can send it to you. We can also send you the Goldman Sachs report. But it's a great, toolkit to have when you're looking at some of these companies moving forward.
It definitely is. And now, I won't keep you too long, but just to wrap up on one more thing that we wanted to talk about. Obviously, we did put out a video. It went live this morning talking about the banking crisis and how that might tie into a potential push for central bank digital currencies. We gave kind of a breakdown of the pros and cons of it, but I'm more so curious, your opinion. Do you see this as kind of one of the main catalysts in this push for digital banking currencies? And what's your kind of take on, in the long run, is that a net positive or a net negative?
I think it's inevitable. I think that they're going to do it. I think there's a lot of extremes on both sides of, that's the end of the world, or it's this and that. And believe me, just like the discussions about AI, it's very concerning. But at the same time, the amount of money that they save. Well, let me take a back seat. They've had out a white paper on a central bank digital currency for the U.S. and specifically for a while. Also, what people will say is almost everything I do is digital. I don't use a lot of cash. And the fear, you hear people say, well, they'll be able to shut down accounts all the time. They already showed that they'll shut down accounts whenever they feel like anyway. Now, will it make it easier for them? Yeah. But I think with all things, when you do these huge shifts in technology and these huge transformative shifts in the way we live, it shakes up society to go, we need to have discussions about how we're going to now live within this framework. And that is important because we have this, at the same time, extreme left authoritarian push going on right now that is kind of making people disconcerting. And it's not making this transition easy or friendly or making people feel at ease. So I believe that it's coming. It's going to happen. It'll come in inches, not in what do you call it, miles or whatnot. But just alone, if you look at the JPMorgan report they did, I think it was last year, and it was saying like unlocking 120 billion value in cross-border payments. The amount of cost in all of these payments is enormous. So the savings are huge. The efficiency is huge. So there is a lot of common sense that it makes sense to use these. Yeah. And we're really already there. But the problem is that it does bring up a lot of these political concerns that people have, and also that people don't understand how behind the scene the Fed moves money to the bank, the bank moves. So we're just in a period where people are learning about some of this, but they're only learning a fraction, and that could be disconcerting enough. But under a framework and a backdrop of very strange extremist leftist propaganda and misinformation, and that also would make anybody who likes freedom very, very worried. And I think that a lot of this over time will cool off. Like all things in all times, there's a swing one way, there's a swing back. And, once again, for most people, the goal is to somehow make that swing less and more in the center that goes back and forth just a little bit. That's where the most prosperity is. And I think if we could get through that and we have people, we have to get rid of all the corruption. And that's just everywhere. The West is just, it's crazy. We need to have politicians that we trust and that we like, and those people in charge. And I'm not picking on one side or the other, but they're just not out there right now. There's very few people. So that doesn't lend itself to a society advancing forward into the future. But once again, that might all change. And, encourage those that are strong enough to stand up and want to lead to do so. But it is a very challenging time. But it is the most fascinating conversation, just like AI, are these central bank currencies. And it'll all come down to what kind of parameters and password protection and concerns will they have for us. It could just easily be that we just go digital. We have the permissions. They can't block us, and government's put in check. Right. It could be that simple. And maybe it'll end up that way. It's just that we have a lot of people voicing the concern that it could be like the Chinese, where it is pretty much the end of any, civilized, democratic, or free type of platform. So, it'll be a fight, but I think once people see the boundaries and they see that most people don't like to live under authoritarianism, we'll be okay.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point there about when you see a push from an authoritarian side of things. It's easier to get behind something when the quote unquote good guys are the ones that are doing it. But when it's someone that you kind of have already looked at it, like, I don't know if you're up to all good ideas over here, and they're the ones pushing it. It's I think natural for people to be skeptical or concerned. And also, I mean, a large like if you're talking about oversight or something like that, as far as it goes, are we going to have the Fed oversight it? Because the Fed has lost a lot of people's trust and confidence. Not just over the last couple of years, but over the last few decades, really. So how do you manage it? How do you oversight? It's a fascinating conversation. It's like you said, it's going to be something that is going to be talked about ad nauseum. It's going to be, a lot of back and forth. There's going to be very slow adoption of it when it eventually comes along, which I think we both agree it's inevitable that it will. But it's a truly fascinating conversation and the kind of things we want to explore and talk about more with subscribers. So I'll do the classic plug. Head over to the website, sign up to the message board, check out the stuff that we have on there, check out the new videos we have. And we'll be doing another live webinar in a couple of weeks. We had a great one a few weeks ago that you did talking about sort of innovation and how to invest in these emerging technologies. We're going to have more of those going forward that we want people to jump in on. They get an opportunity to ask you questions. They can ask me questions if they want. I wouldn't ask me questions, but they can do it. So yeah, just make sure you're locked into all the content. Subscribe to the YouTube, subscribe to the website. And we're looking forward to continuing to grow and have more of these conversations.
Yeah, I gave out 2 juicy little tidbits that last one. So, I mean, one's
sure
like
did.
basic investing and ideas and just some concepts. And one was about a stock we like. So we want to make sure there's a little bit of something for everyone. But come join us. We want to get people comfortable so that they're, and once again, you don't have to put your name. We don't have to know who you are. You're not going to be on camera or anything like that. It'll just be me yapping away and you can type a question. So everyone can feel comfortable if they just want to listen, if they just want to ask questions. If you want to show your face, that's wonderful, but we want to make it as anonymous as possible at the beginning until people feel very comfortable within the group.
Yeah, very, very laid back opportunity to ask. And the questions don't have to necessarily apply to what the topic was either. If you want to bring in other questions, that's totally cool as well. So encourage everyone to check that out. Hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Looking forward to seeing you next week, Andrew. I hear the weather's going to be great out in Vancouver, so excited for that. And take care, everyone, and we'll chat to you soon.